Nah, that's just passion. We love the game. You already know what it is. FYF. You don't got tough skin. Might as well not even come on in. Talk to 'em. FYF, blow the whistle, man, we too official. Better check the film, we not one of them. The greatest to ever ball above the rim. They wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Cut the small conversation, debate on major levels. This the playoffs, baby, bring that pressure, we never settle. Cross and spin, getting it in, I wanna win. That teamwork got us headed to the ship again. Oh, LeBron better than MJ? Cut it out. Half these fans in the stands don't know what they talking about. Half-court jumpers, crowd going wild. FYF ranked #1, you better say it loud. Intellectual talk, but fuck your feelings. Elijah 1 too overrated, Kobe still a realist. Top 10 all time, now how they cut the line. Magic Johnson, Draymond Green, one in the same kind. Fuck your feelings, fast break, stop and pull a J. He got how many rings, nothing else to say. With the team, live streaming, play by play. This the dream, full steam on the road to 100K. FYF, blow the whistle, man, we too official. Better check the film, we not one of them. The greatest to ever ball above the rim. They wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Cut the small conversation, debate on major levels. This the playoffs, baby, bring that pressure, we never settle. Cross and spin, getting it in, I wanna win. That teamwork got us headed to the ship again. Started small, then turned into big dogs. They treat me like the GM, I just make the call. No matter who my op is, I'ma stand tall. Then pull up to the game, fresh like I just left the mall. 100K, 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 check the score. We gon' bust the shot clock, fans running to the floor. All I hear is go this and go that. Man, your team suck, hang it up like a coat rack. I love the game, I admit it, I can't quit it. Step in front of me, man, your ankles gon' get the business. Been a legend like Moses Malone, way ahead of my time. This the greatest sports show ever, I just had to remind. FYF, FYF, blow the whistle, man, we too official. Better check the film, we not one of them. The greatest to ever ball above the rim. They wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Cut the small conversation, debate on major levels. This the playoffs, baby, bring that pressure, we never settle. Cross and spin, getting it in, I wanna win. That teamwork got us headed to the ship again.
FYF Sports, man, it's Lamont, man. We back. What's good with everybody here, man? I see you guys in the chat, man. Got some topics on the docket, man. I see you in there, Tackable Pine. Salute to Moose. Moose Talks Hoop. Man, I saw you live. I saw you was live earlier. I was tapping in. So Crazy TV, Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights, Leslie Barber, Iron Man 32, man. Appreciate everybody hopping in here early, man. Got a couple topics I wanna cover. Also want to do some. Also want to do a little bit of a game film reaction to the Celtics game. Man, that was a good game. Yesterday, shorthanded Cavalier squad still fought tooth and nail to the end. It's looking like the Boston Celtics going find themselves in another Eastern Conference final. Can they get it done this year? He says, Luka need to get that work. He says, Luka need to get that work just like Brian did for missing shots. Yeah. I mean, but they got good defenders. I mean, it's not about Luka missing shots. I mean, are you just going to give Dort credit? They got some long, lengthy defenders. They've been real physical with Luka. I mean, I'm not seeing a bad version of Luka. I'm just seeing a good version of OKC defenders. That OKC game might have been one of the better games primarily because, look, that OKC team could have gave up in the first half, man. Man, it was down the whole game. They stayed in the game. They did not let the lead balloon. They was playing defense. Thank you. And then they got guys on that. They got guys on that bench like Wallace and Isaiah Joe that can go make shots. Those are shot makers. Remember, these are two guys who were fringe guys in the league. Isaiah Joe, I remember when he was on the Philadelphia 76ers. Could barely crack the rotation, get playing time. And remember, OKC is just one of the best teams in the NBA at identifying talent. And not just identifying talent, but then also deploying that talent in a particular manner. Hey, make sure y'all hit them links, y'all. Y'all see the links to donate, man. Please hit the Cash App to support, or you could just hit the link to Super Chat right there. So you see the link in there. We're going to be doing all Super Chats through Streamlabs. So if you want to Super Chat a message, definitely just click the link, type your message in through Streamlabs, and we're going to get it up on the screen. And then once we go into our open panel discussions, man, if you want to move the topic along, just like it says right there in Streamlabs, man, you can move the topic along, man. All you got to do is donate $10, man. And Streamlabs, man. You see Streamlabs is on top of you, Kevin. Streamlabs, Kevin, you see Streamlabs is on your head, man. Kevin's in the chat, man, spamming up Dreamers Pro. Streamlabs, it says, please refrain from discussing low-level basketball minds. Don't be in this chat over here talking about low-level basketball minds, man. This ain't the place for that over there. And even Streamlabs recognizes it, man. But salute to everybody that pulled up today, man. We really gonna get to some of these topics today. I think the first topic of the day I wanted to get to, and I wanted to react. I wanted to watch. I'm gonna watch it with you guys. Just a short clip. Reggie Miller talking with Dan Patrick on the Dan Patrick show. I ultimately knew that Reggie Miller was gonna get confronted with this particular question. He made some comments after Anthony Edwards, after a loss to the Denver Nuggets. He said, look, this loss is on me. He says, I take full responsibility. He said, I didn't come out with the necessary energy to lead my team. Full accountability, did not point any fingers, did not misdirect the blame, did not do any particular deflections. He just came out, and as the best player on the team should, you take accountability when your team does not come through. And Anthony Edwards did that. He was not. It was public. I thought it was something that when you're looking at being a leader, when you're looking at being a superstar in this league, I think those are the things you have to do. You have to own it when your team doesn't come through, because he knows when his team succeeds and thrives, the media naturally is going to give him the lion's share of the praise. So you have to appreciate it from that standpoint. And once I heard him say that, I said, somebody's going to make that connection. Somebody's going to use this particular instance as a moment to target LeBron James, because as the best, as one of the superstars in this league, his team went through a lot of ups and downs this year. And out of all the ups and downs that we heard from that we saw with the Los Angeles Lakers, the one thing that we never heard come out of LeBron James's mouth this year was exactly what Anthony Edwards say. Now, I don't know if it does anything. I don't know if LeBron James actually comes out and says something to that particular degree. Does it fix anything? Does it really make anything better? Does it stop the haters from jumping all over him? Does it stop people from over glorifying some of his losses or mistakes? No. I don't think there's any particular way LeBron James can handle any of these situations going forward and not get vitriol from the haters, because the haters are just going to find a narrative and a way to navigate towards hate. Salute to Hink in the basement, man. I was just checking you out with Anton Daniels, man. I've been checking your podcast out, man. You glowing up over there, Hink, man. Make sure y'all check him out, Hink in the basement. He also does some sports talk too. Make sure you tap in with them. But I want to react to this video. We got a couple videos we're going to be reacting to today. I want to get to it, and I want y'all thoughts on it, man. I want y'all thoughts on it. We got Yahana. He says Reggie too much of a coward to call LeBron out by name. Reggie? Who you? I mean, look. You can call it passive aggressive. But what I like to look at though is, was he right or was he wrong? Right? A lot of people are going to call it, you can have your opinion on how he went about doing it. You might not like, because if we're going to be honest, even if he would have used LeBron's name, he would have still got pushback. Doesn't matter. Just like I said, it doesn't matter what LeBron James says, he's going to get hate. It doesn't matter how Reggie Miller would have said this. He would have got vitriol from some fan base that was unhappy with what he said. So that's why I say you eliminate the emotions from how he said it and go to the context. Is what he said correct? When you're looking at team sports, when you're looking at the best players on each team, when you're looking at championship level teams, is it a prerequisite that the best players take accountability, show that form of leadership? I believe so. I believe what Reggie Miller said was right. All right. Because if Reggie Miller would have said this about Joel Embiid, if his comments would have been alluding towards Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, nobody would have cared. They would have just accepted it as fact. If he would have made these comments and it was about Kevin Durant, where just a couple weeks ago, Kevin Durant's leadership was in question. So that's why I say we take away the emotional, how he deployed the message. Is he right? Or he is right to a certain degree. Right? And like I said, these comments should not be misconstrued or used in a particular manner to try to say, okay, I got to take him out my top 10, because when LeBron James and the Lakers lost to the Denver Nuggets, I saw a whole bunch of people talking about, oh, I got to take him out the top 10. I got to take him out the top. Those are low-level basketball minds. Salute to Mario Knows Best, man. Salute to the casual. Salute the Lakers in 5, man. See y'all in here, man. Smash the like, hit the subscribe if you're not subscribed. So we're going to get to this video. Let's hear what he said, because Dan Patrick did ultimately confront him about this, and I want to get to it. All right, we got the video right here. All right, let's see what Reggie Miller had to say.
Here is Reggie during the game, last game, possibly taking a shot at LeBron James.
Oh, come on.
We've got certain veteran status in our game that are on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore that like to deflect and point fingers at others. Here's a 22-year-old saying, this is on me. It's my fault.
Who are you taking a shot at?
I'm taking a shot in general. I'm trying to give credit and creed to a 20-year-old, 22-year-old, because I want to put myself in his shoes, right? And I remember when I was 21, 22, I don't know if I could have gotten in front of a camera with the world watching and said, this is on me. And I know a lot of people want to think and assume it's LeBron I'm taking shots at, because, look, I've been in those locker rooms when certain veterans shy away from that. And it's quick to always pile on LeBron. If it was LeBron, I would have said LeBron James.
But you said current players Mount Rushmore, so you
just assume it's LeBron?
Well, who else is it going to be?
Well,
it could only be KD or Steph. Those are the only possible guys who could be on the current Mount Rushmore.
It's more so.
But you gave Ant-Man credit, which I'm fine with. You just brought in another portion when you said the current Mount Rushmore.
Well, I've seen a lot of guys deflect those criticisms when here's a 22-year-old stepping up, taking responsibility. So you could take it either way you want. Is it a shot at LeBron? Absolutely not, because I've seen him do the same thing Ant-Man has done too.
Okay, is there a player in your head then, if you say it's not LeBron? Because you know what? You did say this about the coaches got fired, but the players either last week or the week
Yes,
before. So
I
you
did.
were saying that you got coaches fired in Phoenix and Los Angeles where players maybe didn't take the blame.
No. What I said was the coaches, unfortunately, are always the first to go because the players have guaranteed contracts.
Yes.
So coaches are always the first to go, which is unfortunate. I said we need to look more so at the players and more so who's putting the rosters together, Theodore.
Okay, but do you have a player in mind? Because you said current Mount Rushmore. If it's not LeBron,
I will leave it up to interpretation.
yeah, but that's part of the problem. Now we bring in all these other people. So you took a shot at maybe LeBron or KD because they didn't take ownership or blame for the coaches getting. How about you just nod your head? Was it LeBron?
No, stop it. Well,
I
don't
thought
know
that.
why-
Dan Patrick, man. That's on the Dan Patrick show, man. Look, he asked him for whatever reason why Reggie Miller was hesitant about coming out and just saying it was about LeBron James. It is what it is. I think we all know who he was talking about. But if we understand who he's talking about, we don't need Reggie to confirm it. I think a lot of people, again, I think trying to get Reggie to confirm it is changing the conversation over to that is a deflection from what he said. If what he said, which we can all conclude, if it was about LeBron James, I think the next question needs to be, was it factual or not? In regards to this particular season, let's not span it across 20 years, 21 years of LeBron James' career. Because I think Reggie was particularly alluding to what happened this particular season with LeBron James and the Lakers. This particular season where seemingly Darvin Ham took all of the blame for everything that went wrong with the Lakers. Even though some could somewhat argue in 2 years, he had a successful tenure, even though that could be argued. You know, if we remove the name and the team from it and we just do if we just go blind with it and we say that this coach got to a Western Conference Finals, in 2 years he was 20 games over 500, and he did all of this in the midst of broken rosters, multitudes of injuries from last year to his star players being injured to this year, the role players being injured. If you remove the name off of that, you would say that this particular coach actually did a hell of a job. But because it's Darvin Ham and because it's attached to the Los Angeles Lakers, let's just blame him. He's the easiest low-hanging, and the reason why I say this is Darvin Ham is low-hanging fruit to blame because fans don't have to go into detail about what he did right or wrong. They don't have to go into detail. They can just say he didn't make the right sub here or he didn't make a play call there. They don't really have to go into detail about breaking it down. They could just put the blame on him, and it's just the easiest low-hanging fruit angle to take. We need to blame somebody. A little bit tougher to blame D'Lo, especially in the regular season. A little bit tougher to blame some of the others. Let's just blame Darvin Ham. This is a coach that loses the locker room, has to go, unfortunately. Did he lose the locker room? That's a conundrum. And I've been thinking about this for a while because for a while I was thinking he lost the locker room. But man, oh man, when you start talking to people close to this team, you start to really think otherwise. And if any of you are lucky enough to start getting into some of those circles where you can start having those conversations, I'm gonna tell you, the more I talk, and right now, and I just think right now is just not the time to really name drop. But man, when you start really having those conversations, I don't know if Darvin Ham really lost the locker room. He might have lost a player or two, but I don't know if Darvin Ham lost the locker room. I don't even believe he lost the front office. But again, these are all things that are slowly going to start to trickle out and become public. It's just right now, it's just not my place to make those things public, especially when people were confided in me in private conversations. But again, I just want people to kind of think outside the box. Also, the Lakers got a new coaching search. And time out with Mr. Moss. Mr. Moss, my Cash App got hacked. I don't no longer have Cash App. I need your Venmo, Mr. Moss. I owe you on a bet. Salute to Mr. Moss in the chat. So it's just very odd situation in Laker land right now. I mean, obviously you had a situation with LeBron at the Cavalier game. That's what I want to get to next because there was a lot of chatter about LeBron. Oh, is he leaving? Is he going to go back to Cleveland? All types of connections people were trying to make because LeBron James was at the Cleveland Cavalier game yesterday. And again, I just think people are reaching. Luckily, we heard what Brian Windhorst had to say about it. We heard what Nick Wright had to say about it. But Chris Broussard actually to me had the most interesting take on this, primarily because instead of jumping to a whole bunch of conclusions, the first thing that Chris Broussard did was he picked up the phone and he called Rich Paul and said, man, can you please tell me what's up with this? All good. He says, check your phone, send it there. Appreciate it, Mr. Moss. I'm definitely going to tap in and check that. Let's get to this video real quick. Let's hear real quickly what Chris Broussard had to say about this, just while we on this Laker topic. When we're talking about LeBron James, obviously he's the point of contention there with that Reggie Miller situation. He's always moving extremely strategically, and there's an odd methodology that he uses to kind of get things done. Rightfully so. If it leads to winning championships, I'm all for it. However you got to do it. We got Lucindale Planton says, Lamont, stop lying. I don't know what I'm lying about, but we about to get to the video and hear what Chris Broussard had to say. Pootie should be subbed up already, Autism Boy. Cottage 81, man. I think Pootie been here. Pootie been a long time subscriber. Salute to Jarrell Franklin in the chat, man. I see you in here. Loft and a couple new people that popped in the chat. Alston, Knuckles, man. Knuckles is a different last name. One of my buddies has a last name Knuckles, spelled that same way too. Y'all might be related, man. Salute to Austin, Knuckles, Trey 82. I see you in the chat as well. He said, what kind of name is Pootie? I don't know. We've been trying to figure that one out for a minute. Lamont, you have a point. You have to point out if LeBron deflect and didn't take accountability. Did LeBron deflect and take accountability this year? I don't. I believe he took some. I'm not going to act like he didn't take any accountability. We didn't hear him come out and say it as vividly as Anthony Edwards did. So I don't want to act like he, but this year in particular, if I'm being honest, this year in particular, it just sounded to me like everything else was the issue. And that was odd because it was very obvious. I mean, LeBron has a lot of smart basketball people around him. I mean, I'm talking about a lot of smart basketball minds around him. Rich Paul, a lot of people. And so it was odd when he was putting out those subliminal messages, really kind of really wanting the Lakers to go out and make moves or trades and things of that nature, when the business side of basketball, if the people around him were as smart as we think they are, they would have just said, look, LeBron, there ain't really no realistic trades out there that's going to happen. The best opportunity that you have to win this year is just to kind of rally around the guys that you have. Let's get these guys supremely confident, right? Let's get these fan banter off their neck a little bit. Let me come out and publicly support my teammates and endorse them going into the playoffs. So they do have that little extra, that, you know, just that little extra, you know, little bit of confidence. Salute to Jennifer Rivera for subbing up, man. Appreciate that. That is much appreciated. Salute to Jennifer Rivera subbing up to the channel. But so in this particular sense, I thought that there were things he could have done to maximize or get the most out of this particular Laker roster, and I just don't think he did. And this is with the understanding that, sorry you guys, my dogs are barking. This is with the understanding that it was very clear that the Lakers could not improve their roster. Around the trade deadline, it started to become very evident. And I thought that was the time where you could just knuckle down and say, look, the roster is what it is. We're going to proceed with what we got right here. And I don't think no one really came out and publicly endorsed Darvin Ham, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves. A lot of the guys that were really getting the brunt of the media slander, there was nobody to come in and alleviate that pressure off of them. And the Poster King, Streamlabs is reminding you, man, I don't know what you typing in the chat, Poster King, but it's saying, please refrain from discussing low-level basketball minds. So I don't know what you're typing in the chat or who you're talking about. But again, I've told Streamlabs, I said, I need you to use ChatGPT, scour the internet for the lowest level basketball minds on YouTube, and make sure those people are not discussed in my chat. So make sure you're not typing in low-level basketball minds. And then I want you to have your own organic opinion, your own thoughts. Don't come in here talking about what someone else said. Come and have your own opinion and thoughts about the game. Right? So we got to hold you accountable for what you say. You got to put your words out there, not nobody else's words. So in this particular sense, you guys, did LeBron James not take accountability this year? Did he maximize this particular roster? No, he did not. Could he have gotten a little bit more out of D'Lo and those guys? I believe he could have. But again, there's they had a tough matchup versus, and Mr. Moss was telling me about it. I mean, for the second year in a row, I underestimated how good Nikola Jokic was. And Jamal Murray, second year in a row. You know, a guy in Murray who never made an all-star game, not on anybody's all-NBA teams. It's easy to overlook this guy. Lofton says, hey, Lamont, did any player from the Clippers take accountability? No, they do not. But again, this is why none of those Clipper players outside of Kawhi Leonard really have any success. Kawhi Leonard wasn't the leader in Toronto. Kyle Lowry was. He didn't have to be a leader. Kawhi Leonard wasn't a leader in San Antonio. That was Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan. Those guys were able to take the leadership mantle. Whenever Kawhi Leonard's been somewhere on his own and leadership is required of him, we've seen the utmost failures. But we've discussed that. And then also Kawhi Leonard, injuries. I mean, injuries took him out. So it's hard to hold him accountable when he was playing this year. He was a top 15 player in the league. Injuries took him out. Whether you want to say that those injuries are legitimate or not, that's up to you. But that's what ultimately took him out. And we all know that Paul George doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to get the job done on his own. All right, let's get to this video real quick, you guys. All right, man, we got Chris Broussard with Nick Wright on First Things First, man. They are talking about LeBron James sitting courtside at the Cavs game. Did it mean anything? Did it have any real meaning or not? Let's hear what these guys had to say about it.
Do that. That was supposed to be a cut of me.
Yeah, there it is.
And it went, why did we cut to Nick just sitting there? Now, Brew, why did LeBron do that?
First of all, love the hat.
I was thinking the same
now,
thing.
don't get us any, but it looks great on her. It looks great on her. Yeah.
I love it, Nick.
Look, this is nothing. People don't believe. I talked to Rich Paul a few hours ago. All right. They all are obviously from Northeast Ohio. Rich, Savannah, LeBron. They're there for Mother's Day. Okay. They wanted to go to the game. There are several players in the game that were at LeBron's camps as they're coming up as younger players. Darius Garland is represented by Clutch. So they were just there enjoying the game. In fact, this is the proof that this is the proof that it's nothing. Proof? And Windhorse did say it too, but I got it from Rich. Rich called the Lakers
to let them know,
to tell them we will be at the Cavs game. Courtesy. Don't be alarmed, because if they didn't tell them, then everybody's like, oh my gosh. Everybody's like that anyway. I think that it's honestly, I feel like it was innocent. Oh, everybody thinks LeBron. I talked to Rich about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
LeBron certainly would love to play with Bronny. But it's not like they're tied to each other.
Of course.
So don't look for LeBron to go sign a minimum deal somewhere to play with Bronny.
Sure.
All right. I thought, I asked Rich about it because I thought, well, maybe with the Cavs could draft him, but they only have a first-round pick. That's unlikely.
You could probably acquire a second if you wanted to.
If they want and they draft him, but I think that's unlikely. But no, I think this is just LeBron. I honestly think it's innocent. He's enjoying the game in his hometown.
Okay.
I
can't believe that take. That is not my take. And now I will say my take is not informed by talking to Rich. And I say this, if Rich is watching, I hope he takes this in the nature that I mean it. There are certain things I don't want to talk to Rich about before I go on the air, because I know, like, Rich is a great agent and a great advocate, and I almost feel like I'm better giving my opinion on this topic. You know what I mean? I'm glad one of us did, one of us didn't. Because do I think LeBron James is going to sign with the Cavs this offseason? I don't. Do I think it is on the board of possibilities? I do. Do I think LeBron is going to use his potential free agency, as is his right, to exert whatever leverage he can on the Lakers, prioritizing the next couple years over the next 6 or 7 years, which, by the way, you can make an argument for, if you're running the Lakers, for either one, that, right now, should we go for it because we potentially have an aging LeBron? You don't know about AD's long-term health, or should we think more long-term?
I think they should go for it.
I do too, but I think my point is the Lakers, they wouldn't necessarily be a dereliction of duty if they said, we don't want to trade any more picks. We want to, be less aggressive than we've been in the past. It would, though, be bad for the oldest player in the league, who is LeBron James. And
quickly on that too, the other thing, that they tried that rebuild and had good draft picks, and it didn't work.
And it did not work until they got
you know what I mean? So even if you don't get a championship and you go for it, you're fine.
I agree with that, but I think that LeBron is nonplussed watching the playoffs and saying, oh, the Knicks, they added OG Anunoby at the deadline, and it changed their team. The Mavs, who I understand, we'll talk about them in a moment. I understand they blew the game last night, but they added 2 guys for very, very little. PJ Washington, who's been awesome, and Daniel Gafford, who's changed their defense. Could the 47-win Lakers have been the 50-win Lakers if they had made a couple moves and they were on the same path the Mavs are on right now? Maybe. So I think that part is likely frustrating to LeBron, and knows, okay, it is in my interest for the Lakers to at least be a little nervous about me leaving. Because the Clippers...
don't call him and tell him.
Oh, because I think that's professional courtesy.
Make him even more nervous.
But look, it's not insulting. It's not rude. It's not wrong for LeBron just to go to a game.
Right, but the problem is the history of it. But remember, we all know the last time.
It's not like the Lakers could be like, how in the world could he do that?
I get that. I get it, but Wilds,
Y'all see how people take things, like, even when Chris Broussard brings factual evidence that makes a ton of sense, even when he brings receipts about who he talked to It wasn't nothing. He says Rich Paul, LeBron James, and him called the Lakers and said, look, we're going to the game. Nothing to worry about. No smoke signals here. Just going to the game. Even when he said there were a ton of players on the court that LeBron James had connections to, including Darius Garland, who is a client of Clutch. Nick Wright still takes it on a tangent. This is one of the problems with talking about LeBron James, from the people that love him to the people that hate him. Everybody tries to come up with some ulterior motive that's really going on. Right? The haters are always coming up concocting odd stories about this is what's really happening, even if the facts are right in front of us. Remember when I had Dreamers Pro on the channel? I said, Dreamers Pro, the facts are out. LeBron James was at Kobe Bryant's memorial. Dreamers Pro is running around. No, I couldn't have been. It was impossible. He wasn't there. No, the facts are there. The facts exist. He was there. But you're trying to concoct these narratives. And similarly, Nick Wright, who is a ultra LeBron James fan, he can't just accept the truth. LeBron is just there. LeBron is not trying to play mind games with the Los Angeles Lakers. He's just going to a basketball game. But Nick Wright is trying to turn it, they're trying to turn it into some magical, mystical move that LeBron James is doing to compel the Los Angeles Lakers to go pull off some otherworldly fake trade. This even reminds me of when, I don't know if some of you guys watch Reggie in the Locker Room, right? When LeBron James actually came out, he did a video talking about defending Nikola Jokic. And when he talked about the video on defending Nikola Jokic, on his own podcast, talking X's and O's, he basically admitted to JJ Redick that a lot of the breakdowns on Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were due to himself, and they was referring to last season, not this season, but he said they were due to myself and Anthony Davis. He even went out of his way to say that actually D'Lo and Austin were making the right reads defensively. So those are the facts that LeBron James put out about the Denver series last year. But you know what the locker room said, y'all? LeBron James has a podcast. He's not going to tell the truth. He's going to lie. He's going to lie because he doesn't want to throw his teammates under the bus. So he's going to lie. This is what I mean why it's almost impossible to have common sense basketball talk about Michael Jordan. It's almost impossible to have common sense basketball talk about Kobe Bryant. And it's almost impossible to have common sense basketball talk about LeBron James, because the two extremes, the super fans and the super haters, are too extreme. And you rarely find people that are common ground, middle ground fans who know when to deploy some criticism, know when to give credit, and then if you need to rank players, rank them fairly and not take it to an extreme to either end. That's why it's so hard. With Kobe Bryant, what we've seen. What have we seen with Kobe Bryant? Super hyper fans of Kobe Bryant. Hyper super fans emotionally tied to his legacy. And then you also have that staunch fan base of haters that I said was in existence while he played. No one can talk common sense about Kobe Bryant's career now. Now, ever since he's passed, because of the emotionalism attached to him passing, now everybody says Kobe Bryant has to be top 10. Now, all of a sudden, Kobe Bryant's in the GOAT conversation. It's wild. These things were just not happening prior to Kobe Bryant passing. But when something happens and it creates hypersensitive fans on either end of the spectrum, you can no longer have normal basketball talk about that player. And the same with Michael Jordan. Right? Now that LeBron James is entered into this conversation where he could potentially be the GOAT, and Jordan fans have went far off into a spectrum trying to protect his legacy. far off onto a spectrum. Just most recently, we heard JJ Redick say that the 90s was watered down. 90s fans went up into a flux. 90s fans are running around saying, oh, we had the bad boy Pistons. And the first thing I said was, the NBA expansion drafts happened in the late 80s. No one said that the expansion drafts were not designed to affect the 80s. The expansion drafts were designed to affect the 90s. And it did impact the 90s. This is why in almost year after year after year, 20% of the teams in the league lost 60 games. Not one team, 20% of the teams in the NBA for the majority of the duration of the 90s would lose 60 games. You have people talking about like Rasheed Wallace. He's talking about, oh, when they did expansion drafts. They wasn't just getting slouches. I don't care what type of expansion draft you do. When you pluck B.J. Armstrong and a Charles Oakley from over here and a Derek Harper from over here, you throw those guys on the one team. That's a watered down team. None of the expansion teams had true superstars. They had no real infrastructure. And even when they had good players, they didn't know what the hell to do with them. The Vancouver Grizzlies did not know what to do with any of their good players. The Toronto Raptors did not know what to do with any of their good players. The Orlando Magic did not know what to do with Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway, and they bungled that away. And those players and a lot of the talent that those teams had ultimately went to more grounded franchises that knew what the hell they was doing. It was watered down. Why people give that any pushback? And let's not even talk about the draft compensation. The ability to where this team like the Charlotte Hornets, could go double dipping in the draft. Because they did not know what the hell they was doing, they had 2 top 20 picks. We don't know who the hell to pick. Let's go ahead and take Tony Delk. Let's go ahead and get Kobe. Well, Kobe's the high schooler. Tony Delk just came out of college. Crazy year at Kentucky. Let's just keep Tony Delk and trade Kobe for Vlade Divac. We might be a good team. Jerry West over there, the Lakers who are always finessing. Jerry West over there just rubbing his hands together. These stupid idiots over there. They don't know what they just did. They don't know how to draft. They don't know how to build teams. The 90s was watered down because of the expansion. And the expansion affected the league in more ways than just thinning out the talent. It also thinned out the good teams because it took vital role players from good teams. And now you stick those role players onto extremely bad teams, and you're asking those role players to be stars now. You thin out the league's talent. JJ Redick was right. But see, remember what I said, y'all. Because 90s fans only have one real interest, you guys. I'm going to tell you this right here. 90s fans only have one real interest. That is lying about Michael Jordan. They will throw any other player in the 90s under the bus, all to protect Michael Jordan. Brandon says Lamont has no answer for the fact that the West was far stronger in the 90s than the 1080s. Well, I don't know what the 1080s are, Brandon Katz. I would assume that you're talking about the 1980s. But Brandon Katz, the 1980s basketball wasn't that strong either. I know the West was weak as hell in the 80s. See, but Brandon, you know the West was weak as hell in the 80s, but I don't hear you running around saying that that's the only reason why Magic got to all them finals. See, I don't hear, y'all will run around and try to tell us that just for this conversation, for the sake of bloviating up the 90s, you'll say that the 90s West was better than the 80s West. But I've never heard you say or even attempt to diminish anything Magic Johnson did, because everything that he did it in a weak West. I agree. The West was extremely weak in the 80s. The problem with your logic is you never use it with any players from the 80s. Oh, Tamo says swear Lamont bipolar. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I don't even think you know what bipolar means, especially if you're using it in a basketball chat. He says, Lamont not having an honest, no, I'm having a very honest conversation about Jordan. The one thing I know about Jordan fans is Jordan fans will lie. They will lie about the 90s. And it's not saying much. Brandon Katz just said the 1990s West was tougher than the 80s West. That's not saying much, because the 80s West was horrible. To say it was better don't really say much. So it is what it is, man. So what I'm saying is, there really are no. So the Cash App not working here. The new Cash App, Ishmael. And now, Ishmael, you sent me a Cash App on the new Cash App. Here, I'll put it in the chat one more time. You sent me one. So yeah, there are no 90s. Anybody that says they're 90s fans, they're not 90s fans. Brandon Cass says the West was the best ever in the 90s. No, it wasn't. It was not. It might have been one of the weakest West. You only had throughout the 90s, from 1990 to 1998. You only had one champion out of the West. From 1990 to 1998, Michael Jordan said his most significant competition was Reggie Miller and the Pacers, followed up by the New York Knicks. He did not mention any team in the West. He didn't mention the Utah Jazz, a team that they stomped through. He didn't mention the Houston Rockets, a team that never met Jordan in the finals because they choked. He didn't mention the Seattle Supersonics, who were historically one of the biggest underdogs in NBA Finals history. He didn't mention Magic and the Lakers, a team that was decimated by injuries when they played him. He didn't mention the Portland Trail Blazers, and he laughed at the notion that Clyde Drexler was formidable competition. You need to stop lying, man. You got to stop lying about this. The Western Conference in the 90s had names. You guys associate David Robinson with the Spurs and say it was a great team. It was not. They were able to win a lot of games because they could beat up on a lot of expansion teams. The Utah Jazz and John Stockton. The last time I checked, if you lose multiple finals, you're a choker. When you talk about the Seattle Supersonics, they got to one final and lost. Never did nothing else other than have one of the biggest first-round upsets in NBA history, losing to the Denver Nuggets who were an 8 seed. Blazers get to multiple finals and lose. The last time I checked, based on the way you guys talk basketball, getting to multiple finals and losing, you're a choker. That would mean Clyde is a choker. That would mean all of these guys are chokers. I don't want to hear this. I don't want y'all to tell me how strong the West was, but none of them did anything of significant value until that man, that 6'6" guard, Michael Jordan, was long gone. Spurs couldn't be anything until Jordan was washed up and retired. That was towards the end. Houston Rockets couldn't win anything until Michael Jordan decides to go play some baseball. See, Danny Mac, if I'm not having an honest conversation, then tell me what I'm not being honest about. Tell me what was so great about. See, the thing is, I can ask you about these 90s teams. You can't tell me what was so great about them. If I asked you about the San Antonio Spurs, what was so great about this San Antonio Spurs team until Jordan left the NBA? What was so great about the Spurs team until 1999? Other than David Robinson stat padding his way versus the LA Clippers to a scoring title, what was so great about the San Antonio Spurs? Are you going to talk about how many times they got upset in the first and second round? Are you going to talk about those? Are you going to talk about how many times David Robinson choked? If we're going to talk about basketball the way you guys talk about basketball by calling everybody chokers that lose games, let's just go down that road. Let's talk about the Seattle Supersonics. How great were they? Did they have not one of the greatest choke jobs in NBA history after having one of the best regular seasons in NBA history? You lose to an 8 seed? So basically you trying to bloviate up a whole bunch of chokers. The 90s was trash. It was watered down because of the expansions. Teams like Jerry Salone even said could not improve their rosters because of the draft compensations given to expansion teams. Jerry Sloan and a host of other GMs and coaches publicly came out and spoke about this during the 90s. In the 90s, Larry Bird came out and said that the Chicago Bulls have the number 1 and the number 2 best players in the league. This is what people in the moment were saying. See, but you guys want to hype up these other bums in the 90s? You want to try to diminish the Scottie Pippens? You want to try to tell us how great the 90s was, even though we never saw any real parity in the 90s? If an era is great, you're going to see parity. We saw no parity in the 90s. Just like you same people say that Bill Russell played in a weak league because there was really no parity. Okay, let's run with that argument. Jordan, similar situation, played in a weak NBA with no parity. Lamont thinks Dirk is a choker too. No, Dirk is not a choker. See, because Brandon, I just said, if we're going to talk about it the way you guys talk about it, calling everybody a choker that loses games, I know that when you lose a game, it doesn't make you a choker. But see, Brandon, you don't know that, because this is why you guys pick and choose who you call chokers. This guy, your favorite player, can lose as much as he wants. You'll give him 1,000,000 passes. LeBron loses, he's a choker. You guys don't even know what chokers are. No, Brandon, I just think you don't understand what I'm saying. He got Dr. Six and he said Akeem would have beaten Jordan, but now he says the West was weak. Just because I think the Houston Rockets would have beaten the Bulls, that has nothing to do with my thoughts on the West. The Western Conference was weak. And the fact remains, Brandon, is that Jordan showed up to the NBA Finals 6 times. He gave Hakeem Olajuwon, the guy that a lot of people say that Hakeem Olajuwon was the second best player in the 90s. He gave Hakeem Olajuwon 6 opportunities to go meet him in the NBA Finals. How many times did Hakeem Olajuwon meet Michael Jordan in the Finals? 0. He gave him 6 opportunities to do so. Just like you guys kill LeBron James because he did not get his team to the finals to go match up with Kobe Bryant. Well, why don't y'all give Hakeem Olajuwon that same slander? Why don't y'all put an asterisk next to his 2 championships because Michael Jordan was retired? Because you guys want to pick and choose when to throw these asterisks out. I think, see, the thing is, anybody that says the 90s was the best, especially the 90s West was the best ever, you got to prove it to me. But you can't. Losing, look, I'll say it right here, you guys, just to educate you, the idiots in the chat, just like Brandon Katz. Losing is not choking. Everybody loses. When I say that the 90s Western Conference was weak, It's because of how thinned out each team was. It's about the lack of depth. It was about the lack of player mobility and movement. There was really no significant free agent signings. When Ewing wanted to leave the Knicks, Ewing actually wanted to go team up with another star player. But because of how the CBA was drafted, if he left, just like when Horace Grant left the Bulls, he would essentially have to take an 80% pay cut just so the other team could get his bird rights. Not happening. Brandon, just typing stuff in the chat means nothing. But see, this is why this is just not going to be a panel show. I mean, as much as you want to, Brandon, I know you want to come up here on the panel and just over talk, and I'll have to mute you and just say a whole bunch of stuff that has no significant meaning. Not one of them shows, Brandon. No, unfortunately for you, Brandon. So, it's time to just start. It's time to start just dropping facts about the 90s. The Bad Boy Pistons were not a part of the 90s. That's an 80s team. That's all it is. Y'all need to stop trying to over-glorify the 90s. Jordan can still be the GOAT, even if his era was a whole bunch of weak sauce. It's okay. You don't have to try to lie to us about the 90s just to try to make the case stronger for Jordan. If you want Jordan to be the GOAT, just stand on the fact that he's your GOAT. You don't have to lie about the era. You don't have to try to diminish a Scottie Pippen and act like he was barely top 10 in the 90s when it was clearly understood by the people in the moment that he was a top 3 player in the league. Phil Jackson went as far as saying Scottie Pippen was the best player on the team. Y'all remember what Phil Jackson said? He said, yeah, Jordan's scoring is fine, but he says Pippen can do it all. But y'all see, and y'all give Jordan credit for the 6-0, but then I hear people making a million excuses as to why Scottie Pippen can't get credit for the 6-0. Then those same people will give Kobe Bryant credit for 3 championships with Shaquille O'Neal as a Robin and just say, oh, he was scoring a little bit better than Pippen, so we can give him more credit. Stupid logic. Salute to Lexo Dixon, man, for the subscribing. Damian Lamb, man, appreciate you for subscribing, man. Appreciate you guys subscribing to FYF Sports, man. So look, y'all, y'all need to, and then look, everything that I'm saying about the 90s, you guys just need to go do some research. Do research. They will tell you about how great Hakeem Olajuwon was. Hakeem Olajuwon had some of the biggest choke jobs in the playoffs in basketball history. Losing to scrubby teams, losing in the first round. The same things we talking about today. Players getting swept and getting... Hakeem Olajuwon was doing all of that. But see, because they don't think you guys are going to go back and watch, they want you guys to believe, just like they want y'all to believe Jordan, his career was 6 years for 6-0. They want y'all to believe Hakeem Olajuwon's career was 2 years, 2-0. They didn't even tell you about the time when he got to the finals and he got ran off the court. Salute to Michael Matroki, man, one of the top mods of the channel. Rudy says LeBron is the GOAT. Pootie says, my Knicks had the greatest players, Ewing, Starks, and more. We just couldn't beat the goofy GOAT. No, look. No, Pootie, be honest about your Knicks team. How great was Ewing? Did his teammates even like him? Charles Oakley did not like him. Anthony Mason, I talked to him directly in his barbershop in Chicago, did not like him. John Starks did not like him. Why did they not like Ewing? Because they called him a black hole. The ball touched his hands and it never came back. He got criticized multiple playoff series by Pat Riley for being selfish, shooting and chucking the ball every time he touched it, costing them games. One of the reasons why a lot of people felt they lost that series to the Knicks. This is just the facts. Ewing was a shot chucker who literally shot the ball every time he touched it. Did not have a care in the world about playing a team-oriented game. These are facts. Ewing's defense was extremely extremely exaggerated as a good defender because he can average 2 to 3 blocks a game. But defensively, when we're talking about defending, he was getting barbecued. He was not stopping nobody. But let people tell it. Ewing was a great defender and one of the best. No, he wasn't. He was a shot chucker. He cried to the refs a lot. Wasn't a good teammate. Trash in the locker room. That's why they lost. That's why the Knicks was trash when Ewing was there. That's why they choked and failed miserably every year Ewing was there, Pootie. That's why your team sucked in the 90s. That's why they couldn't get over the hump. Because it would have taken an elite team to beat the Chicago Bulls. Not a broken team with a broken locker room. Your team was broken. So it is what it is, man. He says the dumbest part about Lamont's argument is that nearly all the top 90s players were also good in the 80s too. I don't know what that means. And we're not talking about players, Brandon. We're talking about teams. Mitch Richmond was a great player. He was on the Sacramento Kings. They were a trash team. Dominique Wilkins was a great individual player. Could give you 30 any particular night. He was on a hot garbage team. Mutombo, when he was on the Nuggets. I mean, we can go through all of these teams. Jason Kidd and them boys on the Dallas Mavericks. They had a good core of young players. They were still a trash team. And then when teams like the Golden State Warriors finally got a core of players that could be elite with Chris Webber and those guys, Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway, when they got an elite core that could be great, then you always had that one cancer that didn't want to buy in, which was Chris Webber. Great rookie season with the Golden State Warriors. Billy Owens and them boys, balling. Latrell Sprewell, great core. Chris Webber. I don't want to play center, man. Don Nelson, what you talking about with these small ball centers, man? I want to go somewhere, man, where I can play center, man. Then he takes his dumb ass to Washington. Then they get back to losing because he wanted to cry and whine his way out of a winning situation off a 50-win team. That's what really happened, y'all. They ain't going to tell you about the whining and crybabies. They ain't going to tell you about how Hakeem Olajuwon faked injuries, got suspended by the league twice because he didn't like his coach and his contract. Danny Mack, let me ask you a question. What makes a team? So when we're talking about teams, you said I'm ignoring all of the great teams of the 90s. There was only one great team in the 90s. Two, if you want to consider the Houston Rockets. That was the Bulls, and we'll say the Rockets by default when Jordan wasn't around. When you're talking about teams, a team's legacy and success is built on how many championships can you win as a team. I don't know what team is looked at as a great team, as an all-time great team, and they don't got championships. I want y'all to tell me, what team is looked at as an all-time great team that don't got no championships? Orlando was a better team over the Rockets. No, Jason the Kidd. Orlando had better players than the Rockets. The Rockets had a better team. That's why the Rockets beat the life out of them. Y'all get so hung up on better players. No, the Rockets had a better team. Orlando had better players. The Rockets had a better team. And that's why they dominated that series. He says to claim MJ had a 48-inch vertical, thank you. That was fake news. It was probably closer to 40 to 42. Pacers were great. So I say the 90s had 2 to 5 great teams. Yeah. No, the Pacers were a good team. See, if you're going to lower the standard of just being good and competitive to make you a great team, then there's a lot of great teams then. That opens the floodgates up for us to classify teams as great teams. So what you guys need to do is now you need to put some type of barometer on what you define as a great team. He said Reggie Miller backtracks his comments on LeBron. He really didn't. We just played the video locker room. You know, for whatever reasons, network concerns, for whatever reasons, he didn't really backtrack. He just said that his statements should be more focused on Anthony Edwards. On the fact that Anthony Edwards was able to, even though Anthony Edwards could have got in front of that, he could have got in front of all the cameras and could have said, Karl Anthony Towns needs to help us more. Rudy Gobert needs to do more, needs to be better. He could have, Mike Conley, even though he's old, needs to defend better. He could have complained and complained and complained about everything around him. But because he has the true, because he's intrinsically a leader, first thing that happened was when he got in front of those cameras, he said it was on me. Because that's what leaders do. They take accountability when the games don't go their way. Because leaders understand, real leaders understand that games are won and lost because of the best players on either side. I mean, did he own up to him referring to LeBron James? No, he did not do that. Irregardless, because us crying about and the people that were going to come in and cry about if he was talking about LeBron James or not, I don't care who he was talking about. Let's just remove LeBron from the equation and let's just assume he was talking about Kevin Durant. Does it make what he said any less right or wrong? I don't care what player. You can put any player into that question mark. Okay, let's remove LeBron. Let's just say he was talking about KD. It still applies to KD. And he's right. It doesn't matter what player you put into that X. He's still right. Brandon Cash says, Lamont cooked himself when he meant Houston was a great team. I never said, look, Houston, just because Houston had a good 2-year run when Jordan left does not mean the West was great. I don't think, Brandon, I don't think you understand the requirements for what it takes to have a great conference. To have a great conference, you need multiple teams that are great, and we should see significant parity. That's not what we were seeing in the NBA. We saw no parity because one team dominated the NBA in the 90s. That was Michael Jordan and the Bulls. We never had a clue who was coming out of the West. Sometimes due to injury, sometimes due to players getting fat, lazy, and out of shape, like Sean Kipp. All types of things came in. No, Danny Mac, these are all factual. Y'all can say it. Everything that I see, everything that I've said about the 90s, I'm waiting for one person to say something that dispels the facts. I haven't heard you or Brandon say anything about the expansion drafts, the draft compensation, what Jerry Sloan said, why he couldn't get his team more competitive versus the Chicago Bulls. It was Jerry Sloan that said he couldn't make his team better. You keep running around saying that the West was strong enough. Jerry Sloan, a coach in the 90s, was saying we can't get strong enough. I know, but you're just making, Danny Mac, you're just making blanket statements. Type a statement of fact to support what you're saying. There's no holes there. There's only holes up in your brain. But see, 90s fans are going to create holes. Y'all Jordan fans so far on one end of the spectrum, y'all Jordan fans don't know how to compute that the 90s was a trash era of basketball, but that era of basketball still produced a potential GOAT. Just like a lot of people say that the 60s was a trash era of basketball, it still produced a potential GOAT in Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. And just like you 90s fans say that this era is a trash era of basketball because you guys are just complete weirdos, it still produced a LeBron James and a Steph Curry and players of that ilk. And be mindful, 90 fans, that it's just not us saying that the 90s was weak. Wilt Chamberlain is on record saying that the 90s is weak. Wilt Chamberlain said that the 90s was soft. He says, man, you got freedom. The ref's going to call every foul. You ain't going to get touched. Everything that y'all claim is wrong about this particular era of basketball. Wilt Chamberlain looked at the 90s and said that's why the 90s was weak sauce. Quest for power. I really care nothing for this era of basketball. I've already said that the greatest era of basketball was the 2000s. So quest for power. Y'all, get y'all takes in order. I don't say nothing about this era of basketball. I never said nothing. I said the greatest era of basketball was the 2000s. That's not now. This 2024 is completely different style, different era of basketball. Is it the greatest? We have yet to see. When we get to 2030, then we can revisit this 2020 to 2030 time frame, and we can revisit it. But as it stands, it's off to a much better start than the 90s was. He says, now Wilt was jealous that Jordan was named the GOAT over him. Now he was jealous. Was he? Or did Wilt recognize a whole bunch of fandom for Michael Jordan? A whole bunch of people that were willing to take his team accomplishments, which were championships, and act like that's the end-all be-all to basketball. Yeah, they are biased to their era. Brandon Cass says the 2000s was two teams. Okay. We've already done a video on this, Brandon. You know all too well it was more than two teams. You know that the 2000s had much more parity. But we don't have to run through all the teams now because all you have to do is just look it up in Google, Brandon. Because you're talking about the two teams that you're referring to, Brendan, those are two dynasty teams. But it doesn't stop there. The 2000s also produced the greatest, one of arguably the greatest defensive team of all time, which was not neither one of those dynasty teams. Right? There's a lot of narratives that were created throughout the 2000s. Right? And they did all of this amidst the changes in the game. Right? You're talking about a guy in Shaquille O'Neal who changed the game. He was too dominant for 90s rules. He was too dominant for the league to continue with illegal defense. They had to zone up to stop him. This is why he woke up. He walks right out of the NBA draft, steps into the league, and can drop 30 a game with no problem because of illegal defense. This was baby Shaq in his early years in Orlando. Just walking through the competition because they can only guard him with one player. Locker room says the 2010s were the best. It could be argued. I think it was the 2000s. And I don't, even when I did my top 75 list, you guys, I said I'm not going to penalize in any particular era because I believe that era was weak. What did I say? When I created my top 75 list, I said at a minimum, I have to take 10 players from every 10-year stretch, starting from the 60s. Because a lot of those players, even Michael Jordan, cannot control the era in which they played. I can only, no matter what my opinion is about the 90s, I can only judge Michael Jordan based on what he did to his competition. No matter what I think about the competition, no matter what I think about the era, he can't control that. I can only judge him based on what he could control, which was his play and what he was able to do with the Chicago Bulls. This is why I have Bill Russell ranked higher than most people, because I'm not going to sit here and penalize Bill Russell for this so-called weak era when he can't control when he was born. He just played basketball the way it was asked of him to be played, and he was dominant at it. The same with Wilt, the same with Shaquille O'Neal, the same with LeBron James, the same with Steph Curry. I only judge them based on what they deploy within their own era. All of this talk about the era was weak, and I want you guys to take note of this, especially the LeBron James fans that throw this out there. When they start saying that LeBron James plays in a weak era, they are basically saying LeBron is the GOAT. They can't say nothing else about him. They can't come up with no more excuses. So now they have to start talking about who he did it against. And these same people won't have those same conversations. They won't have those conversations about the 90s and who Jordan played. In the 80s, who Magic played. They won't have those conversations. I mean, they even, one could even argue that because every era of basketball has deficiencies somewhere. It could be argued that a lot of the championships that Kobe and Shaq, they played some weak comp coming out the East. Do we then diminish what they did because we all noted that the teams in the East at that particular time weren't as strong? I mean, the Nets, the Pacers, teams like that. Not very strong comp, but they did what they were supposed to do. They won. What was biased, not jealous? I mean, it is what it is. Who knows? Salute to everybody in the chat. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Hit the subscribe, man. It's FYF Sports, man. Got a lot of topics we're going to be cooking up on today. Appreciate you guys being here. But, bad basketball knowledge, man. And you look, y'all. All I say is that he says the Spurs and Lakers dominated the 2000s. Yeah, they were two dynasty teams. But here's the problem, though, Brandon. See, the story of the 2000s expounds beyond the Spurs and the Lakers. Because we can talk about Jason Kidd and on Nets team. We could talk about the Detroit Pistons and Ben Wallace and those guys. See, there's a lot of other narratives that we can talk about. Two dynasties in one era? Two dynasties. Two dynasty teams. I mean, even if we just stop at Lakers and Spurs, those are two of the greatest dynasties in NBA history in one era. You don't have that in the 90s. You have the Bulls and everybody else's afterthoughts. We got some more stuff to go over today. Bronny James, man. Bronny James in the combine, y'all. Bronny James, man. Look, so, man, oh, man. I don't like the combine, y'all. I don't like the combine. Because I think the NBA combine has misled so many teams on what talent is or what talent isn't. The NBA combine has led to some teams making some of the worst lottery picks in NBA history because of the combine. I'm gonna go to a video about Bronny James, and I got a little clip here. Bronny James showed us who he was as a player last year at USC. That's not Bronny James taking tests, vertical tests, lateral movement tests, shooting set shots in the empty gym test. The best thing about tests is you can prepare for any test and look great. if you know every single drill that's going to be done in the NBA Combine, and you spam and work on those drills over and over and over again, you can become elite at those particular drills. And it's not an indicator of what you are on the basketball court. There is no test that's better. If you want to know if a guy can hoop, you put him on the basketball court and you give him a ball against another 5 guys and you tell him to go hoop. That's the ultimate determination of if you can hoop or not. And everybody is hyping up this combine and all of this. Bronny James very well may he may very well turn out to be an all-star. If he turns out to be rookie of the year, more kudos to him. But if I'm the scout of a team and I'm watching those games at USC, how can you realistically say that we feel good about drafting this guy? Even in the second round. How can you honestly say that? Every time you look up, USC was getting blown out. This is a USC team with 2 lottery projections. They had one of the best players in the country on that team along with Bronny James. And you couldn't even be competitive in the pack. You're getting blown out by an inconsistent Arizona team. Getting smacked around by UCLA. Struggling against a hapless Arizona State team. Get washed by Washington. Man, I use actual games, man, to determine if you can hoop. I mean, the biggest indicator that a college player translates to the NBA to me is can you get your team to the NCAA tournament and make a run in the biggest games that matter most? NBA talent in the NCAA tournament shines like a sore thumb. I mean, you can look back to some of the craziest upsets in NBA history, and a lot of times behind that upset, you're going to see an NBA quality player. I don't see it with Bronny James, y'all. I mean, people can tell you about all these intangibles and all that stuff. You know, intangibles can only get you so far if you don't know how to utilize it on the basketball court. I mean, I wish the best for Bronny James. I hope that, and let me pull my chat back up. You know, I really hope that he succeeds. But George says that brother from Purdue could really play and didn't make it. Yeah, you're talking about Carson Edwards? No, Carson Edwards made it. Carson Edwards got drafted. He made the roster for the Boston Celtics, and they signed him to a 4-year deal. That's making it. For an undersized guard, Carson Edwards is shorter than me. I'm 6 foot. Carson Edwards, 5'9", 5'10". He made it. He's a 2nd-round draft pick. They could have waived him. They could have cut him loose. Nothing. He earned his spot onto the team. 4-year deal. Now, did it work out on that particular team? No. But once that team gets you on that, and I don't believe that the expectation for Bronny James is Carson Edwards. But for as good as Carson Edwards was in college, look how he struggled in the NBA. Big Sneeze says, It's not about his game, Lamont. He's going to get drafted because of his dad. It's all about ticket sales. Well, Big Sneed, there's only maybe like 3 teams in a position to play around with a draft pick and just go get a guy because his dad is LeBron James. It's the reason why these first-round draft picks are extremely valuable in trades is because if you draft properly, you can get you a perennial role player who's going to have an impact on winning like Jaime Jaquez, or you can find a hidden gem, a star. If you draft, teams don't look at these drafts to play around with these picks and go get guys that they don't truly believe in. These teams don't care about ticket sales. They're going to sell tickets anyway. This is the NBA. Lakers will probably get Bronny or possibly Cleveland. I don't know who's going to draft Bronny. I just don't see Cleveland wasting a draft pick on him. Cleveland has 1 pick. They have 1 first-round pick. That's it. And you telling me that they're going to throw away all common sense and logic and just get Bronny James to sell tickets when I just watched him in the sold-out arena in Cleveland? They don't need any help selling tickets. They got that part covered already. Big Sneed. Be honest, Big Sneed. Be honest, Big Sneed. There's nobody's going to say this, Big Sneed. I'll say it. There's not a lot of teams that would love to have LeBron James on their roster. Not at this stage. Not 39, 40-year-old LeBron. This version, unless you can get him on a minimum deal, which he's already came out and said, I am never taking less money ever. He says, I'm never taking less than the max ever. Nobody's getting in this to get LeBron James. All those LeBron James lotteries and sweepstakes, look, that was for prime 26, 27, 28, 29-year-old LeBron James. That LeBron James is long gone. Teams are not saying, let's throw away a draft pick to get Bronny in hopes that Bron will come here, take a significant discount just so we can sign him. Y'all, I think y'all think that these teams are just dumb. They're not going. If any team draft Bronny James, it's because that staff, those scouts truly believe he can have an impact on that team winning basketball games. The problem is, if I'm the scout, the first thing I'm looking at is actual game film. And when you watch actual game film, it does look, man, come on, man. Don't do him no justice, man. Don't do him justice. I don't think you guys watched him I don't think you guys watched him at USC because you guys didn't want to see how bad he was. That's what I think. I think a lot of you guys, it was very easy to go watch a USC basketball game this year. See, it's a reason why ESPN would show them highlights. You know what? Did y'all see some of the highlights ESPN would do? They would crop the video so you wouldn't see the score. Go look at the score. Every time they put Bronny James on the highlight, breakaway dunk, crazy block, I want you to go to the actual game and also pull up the score when he made those great plays. ESPN Sports Center, breakaway dunk versus Arizona. They getting barbecued by 35 points. When that start happening? Quest for Power says LeBron Glazers were ready to burn you alive for holding. Look, man, Quest for power. Here's my thing. I'm not an extreme LeBron fan to any particular spectrum. I don't have any loyalties to always say good stuff about LeBron, but I'm not like the haters where everything I have to say about LeBron is negative. When it's good and I'll call it out. But when it's bad, it's hard to ignore it because it's really bad. And I just think that on one end of the spectrum, you have the hyper LeBron James fans that they don't want us to evaluate him to this degree because he's 39 years old. But then if he's 39 years old and we take that logic and we say, okay, well then LeBron needs to get off the ball a little bit more. Let some of the others get those touches. No, LeBron should have the ball. LeBron should dominate. LeBron should be running point. Well, hold on. Is he 39 or not? So they conveniently use the age thing. I mean, I'm going to constantly, as long as you are dribbling a basketball, I have to judge you on the same spectrum. I can't go create some new criteria to judge you on. Like, I don't have a criteria where I say all the players from 36 to 40, I judge them like this. If you're 35 to 30, I judge you like this. I'm not separating it like that. If you're out there, if some team has entrusted you with a significant role, I got to judge it however I judge it. People just get mad. He says, you so wrap up in his game when there have been plenty of garbage players drafted earlier and a lot of good players drafted late in the draft in the second round, but y'all do quick to crap on dude. Hold on. Who did I crap on? Bronny? I'm not crapping on Bronny. He says, Quest for Power says, FYF Sports, Darvin Ham got killed for putting the blame on minutes restriction because he's 39, right? That was another odd thing, too, because when Darvin Ham put him on minutes restriction, they were because of the injuries, they were struggling to close games. And, I mean, you gotta understand that this is one of the complications of having a 39-year-old star who's arguably your best player. This is what makes it complicating. 39-year-old who's your best player. Now it gets to minutes, and the problem is they never had the roster to sustain him being on a significant minutes restriction. They never had the scoring. The offense that they were putting out there, and this goes to Darvin Ham, it was never designed. You know, maybe if you had a more free-flowing offense, right, that empowered more guys to go be scorers, right, that got the most out of guys offensively, but the thing is, even when they went to other types of offenses, it was always LeBron James that would ultimately override and go back to a style that suited his skill sets a little bit better. That's what he did this year. Now people in the chat talking about Tom Brady, man. Craziness, man. Craziness, man. Let me get to this. I got another video I want to show you guys real quick. Let me get it up real quick. Let's see. Let's look at Bronny James in this combine. See what he looking like. What Bronny James looking like in the combine. Let's see. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that, y'all. Y'all gotta chill. I'm not buying that. We just watched Zach Edey knock down like 9 threes in a row in his workout. But y'all don't see nobody bloviating over Zach Edey swishing threes. Poster King says, great form. Always has. Yeah, you know, Lonnie Walker has great form too. You know where Lonnie Walker is, Poster King? On the end of somebody's bench. All right. I know a lot of guys with great form. Out the league. Jimmer Fredette, great form. He barbecuing people in Zhejiang, China. Man, come on, man. I'm not hating Big Sneed. I'm not hating. I watched a man play in real games at USC. Oh, I'm watching a 6-man from Arizona State come right off the bench and give him 15 in the blink of an eye. Barbecue. After a heart injury. I don't know if it was a heart injury. He had a cardiac situation. Look, man, maybe, you know what? Maybe the heart thing set him back. We'll have to see. If the heart thing really set him back, then he would be going back to college. See, here's the tricky part about college, and I'm almost positive this is something that he had discussions with. If he went back to college, he would have had no choice but to go out there and be an All-American. Because now the Lumen Hart stuff wouldn't be in existence. And if he didn't perform like an All-American, 2 years of college basketball, people would have known who he really was. See, right now, if he goes into the NBA right now, everybody's like, well, he does still have a lot of promise. Right now, he can get drafted just based on promise and potential. If he goes back to college, all that promise and potential's in the garbage can if you don't go out there and ball out like an All-American. So he would have to ask himself, what are the odds of me going back to college balling out like an All-American? Because if he really wanted to bet on himself, he would go back to college. If he wanted to bet himself, he would go back to college. The fact that he's staying in the draft, no. I'm not. And maybe he's going with the thought process of, if I go lower in the draft, I'll get drafted to a good team and I won't get stuck on a shitty team where we're just playing a lot of losing basketball. I don't know if he's going with that thought process there, But I believe that if he goes back to college, I don't care what school he goes to, he's not going to look like a number one option. We're going to see another year of the same Bronny James that we just saw at USC. And his draft stock is going to completely plummet into the garbage can. So you got to be somewhat strategic when it comes to getting drafted in NBA. Brandon, you still talking about the 90s, man. Come on, man. Come on, you got to let it ride, man. Let it ride. It's over with, man. I'm not going in on Bronny. See, some people will try to make this personal. This is all basketball. Now, like I said, Andre 76, I'm open to the possibility that Bronny could completely make me a liar. He could come ball out for some team and be an all-star. But based on what I saw at USC, not some combine, USC is who he is. Remember, when he's going up against UCLA, those are just D1 players. When he steps into the NBA, now everybody that he sees on that court were elite college players. You won't have the opportunity to play against a second string point guard on Washington State. The backup point guard in the NBA was probably an All-American somewhere in college. But Wally, that's what I'm saying. He does need a lot of work. I'm saying that I don't know what team honestly has the freedom to waste a draft pick on him. You said Gabe Vincent got paid. He an all-star? Gabe Vincent got paid like a role player. I mean, see, is y'all expectation for Bronny James to be Gabe Vincent? If your expectation is that Bronny James could be Gabe Vincent, I'm fine with that. I think he could be a Gabe Vincent. Okay. Now, that's not a very high bar. Wally, I kind of agree with you. He says, but what are you getting desperate for? When you draft Bronny James, what are you desperate for? I mean, the team that draft Bronny James has to truly 100% feel that he can make that team better, whether it's now or later down the line. If you waste a draft pick on Bronny James and it don't pan out, you'll lose your job. Draft picks in this day and age, in this NBA, where the most successful teams build through the draft and with depth, if you waste a draft pick on Bronny James, that's tough. Especially when it's obvious. Especially when there's every indicator that he's just not that guy right now. He could be a great role player. Okay, but that's why you don't touch him to the second round, or you sign him to a two-way deal if he doesn't get drafted. Those are the role players. But this notion that he's going to be a first-round draft pick just to lure LeBron over, a 40-year-old LeBron, what team in the league is even interested in luring a 40-year-old LeBron over? You have to gut your team. You have to gut your style of play. You have to completely... What team is really willing to do that? Brandon Katz says that's a bad take, Lamont. Second round picks are not that valuable. Again, Brandon Katz, that's a lie. Come on, man. Second round picks are extremely valuable. Just ask the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic. Just ask the Golden State Warriors and Draymond Green. What do you mean? You guys, do you know how many players fall to the second round because of academic or behavioral problems. Maybe they got hurt. Right? And you have to understand that. So the number one thing is you have to understand. Number one thing is you have to understand is that the scouts have to understand what gives a player value in the draft and what takes away from his value. Every team that passed up on Michael Porter Jr., they're idiots. There's a player in last year's draft who, I don't know if it's next year or in a few years, Imani Bates is about to start punishing people. Imani Bates was a top 5 talent. He was a top 5 talent. Like, if you have the wherewithal, like a Tyrese Maxey, SEC Player of the Year at Kentucky, starts to fall in the draft. How does he drop that much? Because he decided to stay in school 2-3 years? Hey, man. Bro, I'm looking at, if I'm drafting a guy that's coming out of college, I'm looking at, did you turn your team from something to nothing? Steph Curry turned his team from something to nothing. Durant turned his team from something to nothing. Damian Lillard turned Weber State from nothing to something. All these guys, all NBA talents can turn a very average or below average college team into something very quick. Now, the only player where that didn't completely fit the bill was with Anthony Edwards at Georgia, where Georgia was bad all the way around the board. They were bad all the way around the board. And Anthony Edwards beat the status quo on that one. But extremely rare for that to happen, man. Extremely rare. Well, Simons didn't go to college. Simons went to he went to that prep school in Orlando for a year, and then he went into the draft. So he didn't go to college. No, Max, he didn't fall because he was undersized, Brandon Katz. That's not true. The man was balling, SEC Player of the Year. He fell because at that particular time in the draft, I want you to think back to his particular draft. The trendy thing to do was to take the younger one and done type guy. The trendier thing to do was to kind of go away from the guys that had a body of work and go with the guys with a lot of promise and intangibles and potential. In that particular draft, that's what was going on. Tyrese Maxey had the body of work at Kentucky. Multiple years putting in work. But because it was trendy to go with the overseas guy, it was trendy to go with the one and done potential guy. That's what they went with. And then they got burned. That's why the Sixers were able to steal him. So it's no surprise to me. Y'all can go back to my stream. I was live during that draft. I was saying that's the biggest steal in the draft. Because if I'm a GM, he drops, I'm getting Maxey quick. Porter would have, the problem with Porter Jr. was there were too many NBA doctors saying that he would not last in the NBA. It had nothing to do with his play. It was about, could he ever get healthy again? Luckily, Porter Jr. was able to get drafted to a team. He was able to get drafted to a team that was willing to be patient with him. Extremely patient. Right? I want to ask yourselves this. If Porter Jr. got drafted to the Lakers, how long would he have been a Laker with all of those injuries? And then when he was healthy, the stigma attached to him as being one of the worst defenders in the league. How long? See, fans and even some teams live in this microwave society where they got to have it immediately. Microwave everything quick. Like, people act like Denver turned into Denver overnight, just like that. No. It took a ton of growing pains. It took a whole bunch of losing. It took a lot of down years. It took a lot of people looked at the Denver Nuggets like it was crazy when Michael Porter Jr. got that $100 million deal and had barely played. This is the new way to win championships. He says, what do you think about this draft class? Actually, Judah, my live stream tomorrow, I'm going to be doing my mock draft. So I'm going to tell you what I think about it. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. I'm doing my mock draft show. We're going to be definitely touching in on this because I think it's going to be big time. He says, FYF Sports Debates. LeBron would have traded him. You know this. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. would have been gone. I mean, look at what they did to Lonzo Ball. You know? I mean, and Lonzo Ball, before he got hurt again in Chicago, had some great years that last year in New Orleans and started off with Chicago on a tear. But when your team is in a microwave and they got to have it now, you never going to get good. Not in today's NBA. That might have worked back in 2010, 2011, 2012 when league and how teams were built was a little bit different. Now, he was hurt with the Lakers. He was hurt with the Lakers, Proster King. But the problem is when you get this young talent, just like when you get a Michael Porter Jr. in Denver, you have to understand what you have. And you can choose to give up on that talent and try to and play the microwave game because you're chasing something, or you can build over the long term. Fans judge these teams based on what have you done for me lately. Salute to Trevor Potts, man, for the subscribing up. Salute to Jason Brown in the chat. So Crazy TV. I see everybody here. Salute to Brandon Katz being in the chat. Appreciate everybody, all the new subs. Appreciate everybody that subbed up. Salute to Wally in the chat as well. Y'all stand in the conversation, man. Appreciate you guys. Denver, very patient. Yes, very patient, Kurt. Everybody acts like Murray has just been that dude every single year. No, it's been a lot of growing pains with Jamal Murray. But they stuck with it. They stuck with their core. And now they're reaping the rewards of their patience. And we see teams like the Clippers. We see teams like the Lakers. We saw how it deconstructed the Brooklyn Nets. When y'all try to build your team in a microwave, it's just like putting a tin can of aluminum foil in the microwave. It's just a matter of time before it blow up in your face. Look at the Phoenix Suns. Remember what everybody was saying at the beginning of the year about the Phoenix Suns? Oh, they got a big three, man. Lakers, nobody compete with that, man. What happened? Blew up in their face. And I'm not talking about you, Poster King, but I'm just saying the general consensus was, because people, I'm telling you, just a few weeks ago, Poster King, I'm talking about before the Phoenix Suns got eliminated from the playoffs. It was probably like a month before, right? I was on Locker Room's channel and I was saying the Suns ain't who y'all think they are. I said, if the Lakers matched up with the Suns in the first round, the Suns get barbecued. Everybody over there in the chat, the Suns, they one of the best teams in the West, man. KD, that Booker, man, they got all this scoring. What happened? They get swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Building that big three, all that stuff, man, that don't work no more. And it's just funny now that I'm hearing Brian Windhorst and everybody say big threes no longer work. I said that a year ago. Funny how the media just catching on to this. I said that a year ago. That big three stuff don't work. Brandon, it doesn't matter. Brandon, that's exactly one of the reasons why big threes don't work. If one of your big three gets hurt, this is what I said a year ago. If any one of your big three gets hurt, you are compromised. This is why I said big threes don't work. Because now having a big three is heavily reliant on all three of the big three staying healthy. And why did it not work in Brooklyn? Kyrie Irving couldn't stay on the court. He was always getting suspended. James Harden got hurt. Too many things. If anything happens to your big three, you're compromised. Well, why did it not work in the Clippers? Clippers had a hellified regular season, making a run to be one of the top teams in the West. All of a sudden, one of their big three does what? Oh, my knee hurt. Oh, goddamn, my knee hurt. Big three garbage can. That James Harden stuff. Once one of your big three get hurt, it's barbecue chicken. Look at the Phoenix Suns. Paying Bradley Beal $50 million. Oh, my knee hurt. Goddamn, my knee hurt. Barbecue chicken time now because you paying me $50 million with no real replacements on that bench. Who gonna sub in for Bradley Beal now? Big threes don't work, man. I've been saying this. He says, no one can win a title with one of their top three players get hurt. All right. Okay. All right. No, what happens is you can't win a championship if 90% of your salary cap is invested in your top three players and one of those players gets hurt. That's why. That's what it is. We've seen the Warriors deal with some injuries and still get to the finals, leading up to the finals. Right? We've seen teams who had big threes sustain. But in today's game, if any one of your big three gets hurt, you are compromised. Because that player eats up so much of your salary cap, the drop off from the next guy that comes into. So you telling me Royce O'Neal's going to come in and do what a $50 million guy can do? Not happening. And I think the other dude got hurt too. The white dude who was saving him. How do I forget his name? I mean, Eric Gordon on his last limb holding on in the league. He not going to save you. They was trying to get the last scrapes of talent out of Bo. He wasn't going to save him. So now you're relying on a whole bunch of minimum contract guys to bail you out of a tough situation. Grayson Allen, that's his name. Because that's what happens. And similarly, that's what was happening with the Lakers. Bron, AD. Right? It was Russell Westbrook. Remember, it was Bron, AD, and Russell Westbrook. Then Bron goes down with an injury. Because you have so much salary invested in the top three guys, Bron go down, your replacement coming in is a Lonnie Walker. AD go down, your replacement coming in is Thomas Bryant. When you invest in big threes, man, and them big threes don't stay healthy, you barbecue chicken. Thank you, Marlon Malcolm. Grayson Allen was saving them. Saving them. That probably, if you have a healthy Grayson Allen, they probably beat Minnesota. Because you got to think Grayson Allen, on those nights when Bradley Beal was hurt or playing like garbage, Grayson Allen was playing like a bona fide third option. One, because he could defend his position. So if he wasn't scoring, he was defending. And if he was asked to score, he could give you 20, 25 points, which was rare. So injuries decimate you, man, to a certain degree, man. But, I mean, look, y'all, it's crazy, man. Oh, man, the Lakers trying to get another superstar to pair with LeBron. Hey, Raider Cujo. Let me tell you something right now. Let me give some breaking news to anybody affiliated with Los Angeles Lakers. I'm going to just give you the breaking news right now. The Lakers will not be trading for any star players this offseason. The Lakers are probably not going to be doing any trades of significant value this offseason. And don't be surprised if the Lakers have to re-sign and keep D'Angelo Russell and just pay him more money just to keep him on their books. So I'm just breaking the news to you now. So for all the people that thought that they could sign and trade D'Angelo Russell, well, unfortunately, the Lakers are in the first tax apron of the new CBA. When you're in the first apron, if you do a sign and trade, you can't take any players back. So they can't get nothing back for D'Lo. They can't do a sign and trade. Now they have to figure out, because they're teetering along the second apron, what did they got? Because they got to re-sign Max Christie. You don't know how much that's going to cost you. You got to re-sign LeBron James, who's not taking any less than the max. That's going to put you over the second apron. The Lakers are barbecue chicken. You sign Austin Reeves to a team-friendly deal. His contract is not even worth trading. It's over with. Look, I'm telling the Lakers right now. Lakers, if you are a Laker fan, it's over with. Whatever you see now on this roster is primarily what you're going to see next year, barring a few changes, minute changes. But the Trae Young talk is fake news. The DeJounte Murray talk, fake news. The Kevin Durant talk, fake news. Anything that requires trading D'Lo, fake news. I'm just telling you now. So Crazy TV. Can't trade LeBron right now. And AD is the only thing that's giving this team any life. Can't trade AD. No poster king. It doesn't matter. Rob Pelinka has no control over anything. The biggest move that screwed the Los Angeles Lakers was acquiring Russell Westbrook. When that went south and you had to get rid of Russell Westbrook, you had to take on broken pieces from other teams. If you want to call D'Angelo Russell's a broken piece, go ahead and so be it. But see, now D'Lo controls your entire offseason. And because the Lakers threw him under the bus, because the media and the Los Angeles media threw him under the bus, he has no real reason to do anything that would help the Lakers get up out this jam. And look, if you don't believe me, if anybody in here thinks I'm lying or that you don't want to believe me, I'm taking all bets. Now, I went over to the Locker Room channel and I said I'm taking all bets. They no longer will bet in regards to trades. They will no longer bet me. I made a $500 bet over there. Some dude lost. He extricated himself from the panel. He never came back. No one will take my bets over there because I tried to tell them that D'Lo wasn't getting traded at the trade deadline because of the business side. They didn't believe me. He didn't get traded. They did pay. But no one over there. I mean, Reggie has literally instructed everybody over there to not take any bets with me, or he's banning them from the chat. Because it's a little bit embarrassment. I mean, or you could just go research this information on your own, and you will see. Thank you, Raider Cujo. All the good teams have 1 to 2 stars, and they building around that through the draft. All this stacking your team up with stars at the top, you're going to get barbecued. It's going to get barbecued. Streamlabs, can you please get on Kevin again, please? Just right on time. Thank you, Streamlabs. Kevin, please refrain from discussing low-level basketball minds. All right? Now, only going to give you so many more opportunities before we just completely have to ban you. He said, who gives them Reddish, Hayes, and Woods a player option? I don't know. If you're desperate to sign them, y'all don't think other teams were offering those same guys? Like, so what other way do you convince those guys to go sign in LA where the taxes are sky high and they probably also have minimum deals offered from other teams? What other way do you convince those guys to come sign in LA? Throw a player option on the end of it. Now, it's not like their money is going to affect anything. If all three of those guys opt out, it's not going to put a dent in your salary situation. If D'Lo walks for nothing, $18 million going off the books, it don't put a dent in your salary cap situation. You still over the salary cap. You still can't do nothing. All you're going to have is maybe a taxpayer mid-level exception to use, and you might only be able to use about $5 million of that. And it ain't nothing you can do. So all these fantasy stuff, you're going to see a lot of channels with fantasies and hopes. I suggest a lot of Laker fans, I suggest that you spend this summer looking for a new team. Kevin, I'm not blocking you. That Streamlabs blocking you because you are engaging in low-level basketball talk. I'm not blocking. I keep my hands up. Type it again. Look, my hands are up. Type it again. Type it again, Kevin. I told you, I instructed the AI to warn all people mentioning low-level basketball minds. See, the quest for power. I promise you, if D'Angelo Russell played with Nikola Jokic, he will look like a completely different player. Primarily because they have a system that doesn't put they have an offensive system that doesn't consistently put players in their weak spot. LeBron James was just on his podcast talking about this. LeBron James just said on the most recent episode on his podcast, he was talking about their offense. He said a lot of guys were getting consistently put in positions offensively that they weren't good at. He talked about it, and he didn't name names. But he says, you got certain guys running pick and roll that ain't good in pick and roll. You know who he's talking about right there? Austin Reeves. Why are you spamming a whole bunch of pick and rolls, AD and Austin Reeves, when your two best pick and roll players are D'Lo and LeBron? Your most efficient pick and roll player was D'Angelo Russell. He had the best assist to turnover ratio on this team. He's the best three-point shooter on this team. Why do you consistently put guys in situations doing things that they are not elite at? Rui Hachimura is not an elite catch-and-shoot corner three-point shooter. He needs to be in the dunker spot until he gets it going. Maybe he can space the floor after that. D'Lo's not a jump shot guy. D'Lo's an on-the-ball guy. And if you say he's not athletic enough to consistently get open, then you must not have been watching that game against the Milwaukee Bucks when LeBron James was out and D'Lo went to work getting his own shot time and time again against the Milwaukee Bucks late game, even to the tune of hitting the game winner. I don't know what y'all talking about. You don't have to be athletic to get open. Mike Conley ain't athletic. He gets his shots off. Tyrese Halliburton ain't athletic. He gets open and gets his shots off. You don't have to be athletic to get open. Lakers are not fine, G-Dog. If you're a Laker fan, I'm telling you, it's not fine. It's just another laughing stock of a year. And so now, and so because I'm almost one, and I said this a week ago, I'm almost 100% positive that the next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers is going to be James Borrego, the laughing stock of a coach from the Charlotte Hornets. And once the Lakers hire James Borrego, I'm going to do a stream. We're going to have a good laugh. 100% know that this is not a coach that none of the Lakers are going to respect, and you're going to have another mutiny of a season all over again. So if the Lakers start off 2-10 next year, I just want to know who the blame is going to be, because you ain't got Darvin Ham no more. D'Lo ain't going to be there. I just want to know where the blame going to get moved to this time. That's what I'm saying. Ain't no more rookie head coaches. Brandon Cass says Halliburton is a good athlete. Every player in the NBA is essentially a good athlete, but he is not the most athletic player we've ever seen. Halliburton's game is not predicated on athleticism. His game is predicated on angles and high IQ. Just like Jalen Brunson is not highly athletic, his game is predicated on angles and high IQ. Jalen Brunson is looking like one of the most dominant offensive forces in the league right now, and and we ain't seen him dunk a basketball ever. We ain't seen him go up and get a block off the glass ever. You don't need athleticism to do all this stuff. Dante DiVincenzo, not an athlete. Just out there playing hard. Effort, energy, communication on the defensive end. That's how you win. So it is what it is, y'all. Lamont isn't an MJ guy. What makes me not an MJ guy? I got MJ as the GOAT. I love MJ's game. We got Peas World. Salute to Peas World in the chat. He says, you do know that if Max Christie walks, the Lakers will have first of all, Peas World. First of all, Max Christie cannot walk. Max Christie is a restricted free agent. No team lets their restricted free agents just walk. It's too valuable. He's too valuable of a player to just walk. The Lakers have already said they're bringing him back. No team is that dumb, first of all. So Max Christie is not walking anywhere. He will be a Laker. And so I don't care if he walks, you get the full MLE. The MLE is still not that much money. So if y'all hoping that if your hopes on getting the MLE is on Max Christie walking, well, I'll take that bet. I can take that bet right now. I told y'all, I'm taking all bets on some of this nonsense. Max Christie will be a Laker next year. He will get re-signed by the Lakers. I'm taking all bets. If you think he walks, okay. Lakers don't make any significant trades for any star players this summer. Taking all bets if you want to run that bet. All right, so Eden Lebowski. Imani Bates ain't getting no minutes in Cleveland. He a hellified player. Old boy for the Celtics, what is his name? Jordan, what is his name? The albino guy. He ain't getting no minutes. He's a hell of a player. There's some hellified players on NBA rosters not getting minutes. Don't mean they not good. Poster King, I keep telling you, it's not Rob. Rob can't control none of this. Rob can't do nothing. Yeah, Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh is a hooper. He says Imani Bates can't defend a parked car. Yeah, okay. All right. If he can't defend a parked car, then if we can set up a one-on-one with you and Imani Bates, how many points you scoring? If he can't defend a parked car, how many points you scoring on Imani Bates? We talking to people who ain't never seen Imani Bates defend nothing ever. Hey, So Crazy TV. If you was making $8 to $10 million a year for the Los Angeles Lakers and you was the GM, you be a yes man too. I would. I wouldn't give a damn. Jeannie, what you need, Jeannie? Oh, Jackson Hayes, you like the light-skinned dudes? I got you. Let's re-sign them. Hey. Yeah, I'll be tripping, man. Y'all all be yes men for the Lakers if they was paying you that much money. Shoot. Rob Pelinka ain't doing nothing that none of y'all wouldn't do. He is an employee. He is an employee. I told you, y'all, it's a lot of people out there. And look, this is something else that I'm going to say. It's a lot of people out there that can't criticize Jeannie Buss because they have a crush on her. It's a lot of content creators out there that won't criticize Jeannie Buss because they crushing on her. So they just go crush on the next thing closest to her. Rob Pelinka. Don't even know what to criticize. He's just an employee. They just crushing on Jeannie Buss. Jeannie Buss pushing, what, 60? If she not 60 already? All these content creators. I ain't seen one Jeannie Buss video. If there's anybody to blame for all of this happening, it's Jeannie Buss. The Darvin Ham hiring, Jeannie Buss. Russell Westbrook, Jeannie Buss. Russell Westbrook trade, Jeannie Buss. Everything that's happening with the Lakers stems from Jeannie Buss. Thunder, I am dead serious. Thunder, I want you to tell me how many Jeannie Buss sell the team videos have you seen? Everybody want to blame. What they do is they try to find the most unattractive male and blame him, or they blame the light skins. Some of them, you know, even Reggie from the locker room, he didn't. His head didn't got so worked that he don't want to blame Jeannie Buss so bad. He didn't just blaming all the white dudes. He got people in his check calling him a racist. This is all Jeannie Buss. That's all it is, man. It's all Jeannie Buss. Nobody else is to blame. Y'all think Darvin Ham, if the Lakers went to George and said, George, we want you to be the next head coach. George knows that he's going to be trash at that job. George will sign on the dotted line and go be the coach. George ain't got nothing to do with it. They just asked him to go be the coach. I'm not turning that down. Just facts, man. Just facts, man. The crushing on Jeannie Buss. But look, y'all, man, we going on 2 hours, man. Look, I don't want to keep this too long. I'm definitely gonna be going live tomorrow, man. We got to cook on the NBA draft. We got some NBA mock draft talk. Just wanted to get on the Reggie Miller conversation, man. I just think Reggie Miller, man. Like I said, I want y'all to just be cautious about this Reggie Miller topic. People are trying to change the conversation from who is he talking about to if he was right or wrong. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to manipulate the contract and say, oh, he was too scared to put a name on it. You don't need a name. You can put in any name that you want of any player that has questionable leadership, and he's right. So be mindful of the people that are out there killing Reggie Miller, and I want y'all to listen to what they're saying if they're killing Reggie Miller. They're only crying about the fact that he didn't just come out and put a name on it, as if that would have even mattered. Because it still wouldn't have taken away from the fact, is he right or is he wrong about leadership? And I think in Reggie Miller's case, he was right. Just like Mike Wilbon and a lot of people, Mike Wilbon spoke his mind, and Mike Wilbon put names on everything he said. But the main thing is that, look, man, it's hard. Like, you know, it's hard watching these coaches not get a fair shake. right? I don't think that Frank Vogel deserved to get fired. I don't think that Adrian Griffin deserved to get fired. I don't think that Darvin Ham deserved to get fired. I don't think Budenholzer deserved to get fired. But it's just like these teams are looking at the fact, well, what's the easiest way to appease the fans? It's like the teams are looking around saying, well, we know these fans are stupid. So to capitulate to the fans and make them happy, all we got to do is fire a coach and they're okay. If we fire a coach, they'll be fine with anything else that we do because the coach is no longer there. No, Frank Vogel doesn't need a defensive team. Frank Vogel just needs players that aren't injured and a team that's not riddled with injury all year. Frank Vogel knows that if you're paying a guy $50 million a year and he don't show up, you're going to have a hard time winning games. If your next best player, Grayson Allen, gets hurt, you're going to have a hard time winning games. Eric Gordon ages overnight and can't play any games for you, you're going to have a hard time. Lamontis Lyon, he says the Lakers are trying to appease LeBron, not the fans. Okay, Brandon. Any bets you want to make, Brandon? If the Lakers are trying to appease LeBron, let's make some bets. What are the Lakers going to do to appease LeBron that you believe? He says, that's wrong. Vogel can't coach offense. Okay. See, I want y'all to understand this. Becoming an NBA coach, it's already extremely difficult to become an NBA player. Only 400 or 500 jobs. It's even more difficult to become an NBA head coach. Only 30 jobs for the entire world. If you're telling me Vogel, who's one of the top 50 coaches in the entire world, can't coach offense, he nor his staff, then you got to be an idiot. All of these coaches can coach offense. There's an entire playbook that the Golden State Warriors stole, named after Darvin Ham, full of a set called hammer screens. Where do y'all think hammer screens came from? Darvin Ham. Yet these idiot fans say he can't coach, and teams, elite offensive teams like the Golden State Warriors, are stealing his stuff. These are the best in the world. And people in the chat that can't tell you what an inverted screen is, they can't tell you what offense to run against a 2-3 zone. They can't draw up a press break for a diamond press, will sit here and tell you that these coaches can't coach offense. I'm only accepting the fact that Vogel can't coach offense if it comes from Coach K from Duke or somebody with a bona fide brilliant basketball mind. But if y'all think that people on YouTube and in chats are qualified to run around and say who's a good coach and who's not, y'all are not qualified. I don't think any of y'all could coach a bunch of fifth graders to go win anything. None of y'all, especially Brandon. Vogel didn't have a good offense with Indiana. First of all, you don't even know what his offense was with Indiana. You don't know who his assistants were in Indiana. You don't know the complexities of what the other teams were doing to make that offense not look as elite. Y'all don't know nothing about what these teams do. Like I said, I'm telling y'all, Darvin Ham, as soon as he puts word out that he wants to coach again, will be hired as an assistant coach immediately. That's how valuable Darvin Ham is. As soon as he wants another job in the NBA, he will have it. I promise you that. That's how good of a coach he is. Y'all think these guys get these jobs as head coaches because they complete idiots. It's much harder to be an NBA coach than it is to even be an NBA player. Told y'all. Yeah, what y'all have to, number one thing y'all have to stop doing is y'all have to stop thinking people in the chat are qualified enough to talk about who's a good coach and who's not. I mean, y'all really not even qualified to talk about the players, if we being honest. Especially people like Brandon, who not going to be honest. Frank is a defensive coach, which the Lakers in 2019 were built for. Y'all just say stuff. Y'all just say stuff. So are y'all telling me, see, the one thing is you can't be a defensive coach without good defensive players. The one thing that dictates if you're going to be a defensive coach or offensive-minded coach is your players. You put Frank Vogel on the Detroit Pistons, he ain't going to look like no defensive-minded coach. If you put Frank Vogel on the Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young out there on the perimeter defending, they not going to look like no defensive-minded team. What's the first thing that Tom Thibodeau did to mold his team into a defensive team? He went and got defenders. He went and got Josh Hart and DiVincenzo. He went and got guys that could defend. Because he knows that I can't just be great defensively without defensive players. So your players dictate who you are as a team. And it can change on a year-to-year basis. There have been many bad coaches in the NBA. No. Yeah, I don't think I'm never in my life gonna call an NBA coach a bad coach. You have to be one of the best coaches in the world to get an NBA coaching job. The factors that go into that working or not working, there's a ton of factors. Sometimes, because especially at the pro level, you got owners who are telling you to play certain guys for contractual reasons. You may have owners telling you to not play certain guys due to contractual reasons. So now you have that monkey wrench you have to deal with. You have players at the NBA level. You're dealing with the most divas in sports. You thought wide receivers were divas in football. Imagine having an entire roster full of divas in the NBA. They don't like a play call, they check out. They not defending. They don't like the way you push them in practice, they check out. They not defending. They not playing for you. They don't like the layout of your offense. They checking out. They not playing hard. They might have a gripe with the front office because contractual promises weren't made, like we saw with James Harden. They stopped playing hard. You think Greg Popovich could have controlled the situation with Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio when Kawhi Leonard checked out on that team and forced a trade to Toronto? There's no control in stuff like that. But it's all going to get blamed on the coach. I don't think people have the first inclination of what good or bad coaching is. Now, did Darvin Ham make obvious mistakes like every coach makes obvious mistakes? Even the best? Yes. Brandon keeps saying the same thing. Lamont is cooking himself because he's already admitted some owners are dumb, and the owners are the ones who hire coaches many times. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. But Brandon, did you listen to what I said? I actually gave myself some wiggle room. I didn't say a top 30 coach. I said Frank Vogel is a top 50 coach in the world. I'm giving wiggle room for 20 guys that aren't even coaching in the league. But if you are even in that pool of candidates, you got to be elite. If you've been an assistant in NBA, you are elite. If you've been a head coach in NBA, you are elite. You ain't getting to this level and you're not elite. I think Darvin Ham made some mistakes, but I don't think Darvin Ham's mistakes cost him any particular game or series. Adrian Knight, I think James Borrego is going to be the next coach of the Lakers. It's the only coach desperate enough to take the job who's not a rookie head coach. They're not going to give it to Mark Jackson. He's blackballed from the league. I don't see Kenny Atkins leaving the Golden State Warriors just to get fired in a couple years to go coach LA. Not happening. So, you know, it is what it is. James Borrego is probably going to be the next head coach. If it's not James Borrego, then you're talking about JJ Redick. Well, I heard people even the Warriors, not the Warriors, but the Minnesota Timberwolves assistant's name is getting thrown into the fray. But at this stage right here, you need to ask yourself. Let me just ask y'all this. You're an assistant for the Minnesota Timberwolves or even the Nuggets or even the Golden State Warriors in Kenny Atkinson's case. Probably making $2, $3, $4 million a year under a coach who's going to have a job on that staff till he decides to quit. You risking all of that to go coach a team where you could potentially get fired in a year or two and get blamed for absolutely everything if you don't win a championship in your first 2 years? Ain't no way. The Lakers got a nasty track record, man. Nasty track record. The only way you really get a coach, because the best thing about Frank Vogel made sure if y'all put me in this crazy situation, I got a 5-year deal. Y'all gonna cash me out. See, Darvin Ham didn't have that luxury of no crazy long deal. See, because they can entice a rookie head coach with no experience at the helm. You can entice him with a 2-3 year deal. You can probably get a JJ Redick in there on a 2-3 year type deal with not a ton of guarantees and is loosely worded. You ain't about to get no bona fide legit head coach. If you are able to lure one of the most elite coaches to LA, I guarantee you it's a nasty 5-year deal. I'm talking about 5-year deal, ton of money, no outs. It's crazy. He said players get traded, coaches get fired. It's a business. Yeah, it is. And if it's a business, then coaches have to be looking at the business side of it before heading to LA. Because once you go coach LA, this is now on your resume. The good thing for Darvin Ham is that while he was in LA, even though he got fired, he got to a Western Conference Finals. He won the in-season tournament. To me, that's a hell of a lot for a 2-year stretch where your team wasn't even projected to get close to be competitive. So, but look, y'all, man. FYF Sports, man. Another great podcast episode, man. Appreciate you guys pulling up today, man. We've been cooking for 2.5 hours, man. We're going to shut it down. I got a couple streams later this week, man. We're going to be bringing y'all some special guests this week from a company called Profit Duel. So I'm going to actually have him on the next show that we do, on one of the next live. Maybe not the next live, but we're going to have somebody from over at Profit Duel on this show. I'm telling y'all, if y'all want to really change the way y'all attack y'all sports betting, this Profit Duel system about to blow y'all mind, man. I've already utilized it myself. I have never found a betting system that can guarantee positive results. They have a formula that shows you how to flip your money and you win money every single time. Right? So if you want that little extra $1,500, $2,000, you can really, it's really unlimited based on what your bankroll is. Some of you guys might have a larger bankroll. You might be able to start with $1,000. If you ain't got it like that, you can start with $10. But I guarantee you, you will not lose money with their methods. You will always gain money. And your ability to cash out, just go to the sports book, cash out. But I can't wait we're going to be introducing we're going to be introducing Profit Duel to you guys. And it's not confined to any one sports book, right? If you use DraftKings, any of these sports books, it's available and it works with all sports books. I've never seen a tool like this. So we're going to be introducing that. We're going to have somebody from Profit Duel over here to introduce that tool. And then we also going to be running a promo. I might do a giveaway. We got to do some type of giveaway. Maybe let's see if we can give out some. I'm going to speak with them over there, see if we can give out some from premium memberships to Profit Duel. Maybe you get a free upgrade to your account just by being here during the live show, something like that. And then if you did donate, and I saw a few donations come through. If you did donate, my apologies if I didn't call it out. Definitely going to call it out next stream. But what I want to implore people to do is hit the Streamlabs button right there. I want y'all to sign up for your memberships through Streamlabs right here. That's where we're going to start our membership base, through Streamlabs, because when I start going live through Streamlabs, that's when y'all going to have access to all the member features. All right, so make sure y'all are hitting that link. Donate through Streamlabs or sign up for your monthly membership, man. So we do those streams directly through Streamlabs. We'll have the ability to do the live on air raffles where the graphics come up and Streamlabs selects a winner. We got some new merch dropping, right? And I know we've dropped new merch in the past. It really hasn't taken off the way I wanted to. So we've actually partnered with a clothing company that's redoing a lot of the designs, man. Is really going to assist in that as far as that end of it. So now we're going to have some branded merch, man, coming y'all way. So a lot of stuff coming y'all way here on FYF Sports, man. Salute to True the King and Ace 30. Mario Knows Best for running the show, the crossover, man. The crossover show, man, I want to see y'all have that same fervor, man. Pull up when they go live every Saturday. The crossover, man. Try to encourage them. I think Herm is going to be doing a branch off show at the crossover on Mondays as well. So, y'all know Herm, man. Herm always comes through with something controversial. So make sure y'all check out Herm's show. And if anybody in the chat, man, join our Discord. You see the link to the Discord is right there. If you want your own show, and again, when you have your own show on FYF Sports, you get all the ad revenue. You drop your cash app, you get all the donations. I get zero in return. All I ask is that you are consistent with your show, right? You find ways to market your show on social media. I'll help a little bit. And you also got to create the graphics and design and the layout for your show so we can push your podcast here on FYF Sports. And then we can also transition that show over to Roku TV when it's time, when we make that transition as well. So, again, I want to see some of you guys, man, jump out the mode. Look, you don't have to have a special camera or anything like that. You could just do what you see now, one of the vertical lives with your phone, right? But if you have a show idea, you could be consistent with it, right? Research new topics, come up with engaging conversation, whether it's just you or whether you have open panel discussions, man. We want to bring you out here. Salute to Jaxies, Caxers for subscribing to the show, man. Appreciate you, man. A lot of new subs today, man. So, again, definitely appreciate you guys showing up big time today in the stream. We're gonna be live tomorrow. He's just popping Spoelstra, our elite. Spoelstra still ain't win a chip since, bro. But yeah, because you need good players to win chips. Championships don't define if you're a good coach. Winning and losing seasons don't define if you're a good coach. Greg Popovich can have 20 losing seasons in a row. He's still one of the best coaches to ever do it. So, it is what it is. Winning and losing is not the Coaches are not graded on that particular scale. Fans will grade you on that scale. My Renegade, I'm gonna get with you today, Renegade, because I really want you getting your show going. So we just need to look, Renegade. We can get it done today. We can get your show going this week. I'm gonna get with you on the Discord today, man, Renegade. We're gonna lock that in. We're gonna get you ready. We're gonna get you going today. I'm gonna get the graphics created, and we're gonna get you rocking today. And I can also add you as an admin to the StreamYard. That way, when it's time for you to go live, you control it. Boom, you hit live, you go live when you're ready to go live. You could just kind of rock out from there. But look, y'all, FYF Sports, man, another great podcast episode, y'all. We're going to be back with more sports and news, man. Until then, it's FYF Sports, and we out.
Nah, that's just passion. We love the game. You already know what it is. FYF. You don't got tough skin. You might as well not even come on in. Talk to 'em. FYF, blow the whistle, man, we too official. Better check the film, we not one of them. The greatest to ever ball above the rim. They wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Cut the small conversation, debate on major levels. This the playoffs, baby, bring that pressure, we never settle. Cross and spin, getting it in, I wanna win. That teamwork got us headed to the ship again. Oh, LeBron better than MJ? Cut it out. Half these fans in the stands don't know what they talking about. Half-court jumpers, crowd going wild. FYF ranked #1, you better say it loud. Intellectual talk, but fuck your feelings. Elijah 1 too overrated, Kobe still a realist. Top 10 all time, now how they cut the line. Magic Johnson, Draymond Green, one in the same kind. Fuck your feelings, fast break, stop and pull a J. He got how many rings, nothing else to say. With the team, live streaming, play by play. This the dream, full steam on the road to 100K. FYF, blow the whistle, man, we too official. Better check the film, we not one of them. The greatest to ever ball above the rim. They wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Cut the small conversation, debate on major levels. This the playoffs, baby, bring that pressure, we never settle. Cross and spin, getting it in, I wanna win. That teamwork got us headed to the ship again. Started small, then turned into big dogs. They treat me like the GM, I just make the call. No matter who my op is, I'ma stand tall. Then pull up to the game, fresh like I just left the mall. 100K, 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 check the score. We gon' bust the shot clock, fans running to the floor. All I hear is go this and go that. Man, your team suck, hang it up like a coat rack. I love the game, I admit it, I can't quit it. Step in front of me, man, your ankles gon' get the business. Been a legend like Moses Malone, way ahead of my time. This the greatest sports show ever, I just had to remind. FYF, blow the whistle, man, we too official. Better check the film, we not one of them. The greatest to ever ball above the rim. They wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Cut the small conversation, debate on major levels. This the playoffs, baby, bring that pressure, we never settle. Cross and spin, getting it in, I wanna win. That teamwork got us headed to the ship again.